How's it going, everyone? Bass here. So a couple days ago, I made a video, and it was basically showcasing 3 trade targets at wide receiver for the Green Bay Packers. So in this video, I'm going to do 3 free agent targets at wide receiver for the Green Bay Packers. And basically, the premise was to, quote-unquote, replace Davante Adams. Now, obviously, there's no such thing as replacing Davante Adams. That's just not going to happen. But regardless, the Packers need to add talent and more players into that wide receiver room, whether that be through trading, free agency, and of course the draft. Now, this list won't include Marquez Valdes-Scantling, although I think the Packers still want to bring him back. He did just visit with Kansas City today, so we'll see if they do end up signing him after trading Tyreek Hill to the Miami Dolphins. What a wild sequence that was. But if he doesn't strike a deal there, I still think the Packers have a chance to re-sign MVS. And the Packers really need an outside type wide receiver. They don't really need a receiver that mainly plays in the slot. Randall Cobb and Amari Rodgers are primarily slot receivers, so they're going to take pretty much all of those snaps. So with that in mind, let's get into it. So for my first wide receiver on this list, I do have Will Fuller. He's my free agent number 1. He's my favorite target in free agency at wide receiver for the Packers due to what he brings and what he could bring to the Packers offense. He's a deep threat boundary wide receiver, came out of college with 4.32 speed, signed with Miami last year, didn't play much, only 2 games due to obviously the suspension and then some injuries later in the year. But the year before that in Houston, he had a really nice year. Totaled 53 receptions, 879 yards, and 8 touchdowns. He was top 10 in overall PFF grade for wide receivers and also yards per reception in that 2020 season. He's just about to turn 28, so he still has a lot left to give. And Will Fuller also plays 75% of his snaps out wide, so a perfect fit for the Green Bay offense and what they need. And if they were to sign Will Fuller, there's no need to bring back MVS. I think he would be a perfect replacement for MVS, and I think he's better than MVS and has more upside overall. And that's why he's my favorite and number 1 on this list among all free agent wide receivers and the 3 I have today. I could see a 1 or 2 year deal for Will Fuller totaling at around $6 to $7 million per year average, which is probably what they'd end up paying MVS or what a team is going to end up paying MVS anyways. So for the second player on this list, I do have Jarvis Landry. And I wanted to include him because I keep seeing a lot of people mention Jarvis Landry and, hey, the Packers should sign Jarvis Landry. Now, he is an interesting prospect, and I have reasons that, okay, maybe it is a good idea to go out and sign Jarvis Landry, but there's also some that kind of give you the reason not to sign Jarvis Landry. And after a 52 reception, 570 yard, 2 touchdown season, the Browns did decide to release him this offseason. He was 4 years into his 5-year deal worth $75 million, which is at $15 million average per year. And now Jarvis Landry is in free agency, sitting at 29 years old. A down year in 2020, but overall the Browns and Baker Mayfield just weren't good, so I wouldn't say that's necessarily all on him because he had 800 plus yards the prior 6 years and 1,000 plus yards 3 of those 6 years. And I do think Jarvis Landry can certainly be a number 1 or a number 2 option in an offense. I mean, he's totaled more than 100 targets every year in his career except for last year, which again, the Browns just weren't good. But one of the reasons that kind of is halting me from wanting the Packers to sign him is in his career, he's only taken 31% of his snaps out wide. So that's, 69% of his snaps in the slot. And this is kind of why I don't really see him as a great fit for Green Bay. But nonetheless, I still think Green Bay could surely use him in multiple ways, and that's why I kept him on this list. He did have his most out wide snaps the last 2 years, so that definitely does say something as well. But Jarvis Landry certainly isn't a speedster. He's actually one of the slower receivers in the league, so he's not someone that's going to take the top off a defense. The Packers would still obviously have to address that need. I see Jarvis Landry commanding anywhere from $8 to $10 million average per year, and likely a 2 to 3 year deal. But overall, the price and the lack of outside snaps at receiver is why I have Will Fuller over Jarvis Landry. Last on my list, I do have Julio Jones. I thought I needed to include him on this list because just the thought of Julio Jones with Aaron Rodgers, regardless of his age and his production the last 2 years, is something us fans have all thought of in the past. We cannot lie. Now, Julio is certainly on the back end of his career, and he's 33 years old. There's no denying that. After 2 years of playing 9 and 10 games respectively, you have to question his durability. But based off of what Julio Jones has done in his career and what kind of receiver he's been in his career, I had to have him on this list just out of straight up respect. Last year, Julio Jones only had 37 receptions for 496 yards and 1 touchdown. And there were some times Julio Jones looked like Julio Jones in that Tennessee offense. Week 2 in Seattle is one of them. He had 6 receptions for 128 yards. And interestingly enough, he also had more yards than MVS in one less game. So that's an interesting note there. Julio Jones has also played 80% of his snaps out wide throughout his career, so he fits exactly what Green Bay needs, an outside receiver. But of course, the Packers would surely have to draft some speedy wide receiver in the draft, someone like Calvin Austin or Sky Moore or someone of that sort. Now, I don't think Julio Jones would be as expensive as some may think. He was finishing out that 3-year, $66 million deal he signed with the Falcons, and obviously he was traded to the Titans, and that was at $22 million average. That was when Julio Jones was still, a top 4 receiver in the NFL. As of right now, I just don't even see him commanding half that average. But it would certainly be a 1-year deal. My guess is right around $9 million to $10 million mark. Again, just like Jarvis Landry, I do think Will Fuller is a much better option here, but I wouldn't be mad if the Packers went out and decided to give Julio Jones one last shot, and that's with Aaron Rodgers. Overall, after the more enticing wide receivers have been signed elsewhere around the league, the wide receiver free agent pool isn't that deep. That's why I have guys like Julio Jones on the back end of this list. It is more likely, in my opinion, that the Packers do go out and trade for a wide receiver. And then obviously they're going to draft wide receivers as well. I think they're going to draft at least 2 wide receivers and at minimum 1 in their top 4 picks. But that about does it for this video. I want to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. Which of these 3 would you be most excited with if the Packers were to go out and sign them tomorrow? And then also, is there someone else in the free agent pool that I missed or you like better than one of these guys? Comment that down below as well. And of course, if you aren't subscribed already, go down and click that subscribe button for more Packers news, analysis, and updates when it comes to free agency, the draft, and salary cap. But that about does it. I'll catch you on the next one. And as always, go Pack Go.